In this video, we're going to look at exponential notation and the order of operations. Okay, I'm going to split this video into two parts. The first part is going to cover exponential notation. The second part will cover the order of operations. Okay, so now, what are exponents? There's this magical thing called an exponent, and they're simply another way to write successive multiplication. And so just as multiplication was successive addition, so we have things like this. We have 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 4 times 2, which is 8. Okay, so now in exponential notation, let's suppose I wanted 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. Whoop, the other 4, the kind of 4 that looks more like a 4. Okay, well, now I'm raising, let's take off one of those 4s. The reason I don't want you to get confused as to which one is where. Okay, so it's 4 times 4 times 4. So that means we take the number that we're multiplying, that goes on the bottom, and as a superscript, we have 3 of them. And so we're just going to count the number of 4s. Okay, so this means 4 to the third power, or 4 to the exponent of 3. Okay, the base, and as we look at number 1 here, components of exponential values, the base is the number that you're multiplying. This is the number that you are multiplying. And the exponent, this by the way is the bottom number. I call it the bottom and the top, but it's really just the regular and the superscript. Okay, now the number that you are multiplying, the exponent is the number of times you are multiplying the base. Multiplying the base. Okay, so now when we are counting this, it's the number 4 that is being multiplied, and we are multiplying it a total of 3 times. It's kind of a misnomer, but that's the way I describe it. It's the number of times 4 comes up. You're actually only multiplying twice, but since it's a binary thing. In this case, though, 4 to the third power is going to be 4 times 4 is 16 times 4 is 64. Okay, now you can see the difference between the values that you're getting through multiplication and through exponentials. And so exponential notation is simply a way to write down many multiplications of the same number. So, how do we evaluate this? Well, let's just take one here. Let's say that we have 2 to the 5th power, and we want to know what that is. So how do we do that? Well, if you get to use a calculator, you can. There's usually a power button. These buttons are going to look different depending on the calculators. Graphing calculators and calculators that are on computers very typically will have a caret key. And so it would be 2, then you'd press a button that looks like this, and that's called a caret. So 2 caret 5. That would be one way to do it on a calculator. Another way to do it on a calculator, if you have a scientific calculator, it's usually you put the base first, and then they have this button that looks like x to the y, and then you put your exponent after. Okay, it's very dependent on how you see this. This is tends to be graphing calculators, so graphers and computers, and this tends to be scientific calculators. Okay, so now how do we do this? How do we do this in real life? Yeah, if I don't have a calculator sitting on me in my pocket or whatever, and which with cell phones, most of the time we do. So how do I do this? Well, this is really 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Okay, so we can take this and we can kind of split this up and we say, okay, well that 2 times 2 is 4. This 2 times 2 is 4. And so we have 4 times 4 times 2. Well, this is 16. 4 times 4 is 16 times 2. 16 times 2 is 32. Okay, notice how we don't have any more operations. That's your answer. 2 to the 5th is 32. And that's how you do these. It's not really that bad. So, if you have to do them by hand, rewrite them as multiplication. If you have to do them on a calculator, it's usually a caret key or an x to the y key that you have to press in between the base and the exponent.